Okay, so we're going to do 2 more examples of between, just because I just wrote more examples. One more. Is that okay with you?
The more the better.
The more pages, the better? I'm about to say, don't tell me that. So that one day we had 12 pages? That was a long day, wasn't it?
The homework is class.
Oh. Between z equals 0 and z equals 2.38. So what do I do?
Alright, let me know between z equals 0. So we go to the very bottom, right? What do I need to
I'm gonna sketch it. So I have 0 and 2.38. So the first thing I'm going to do is find the area of z equals 0. Then I'm going to find the area of z equals 2.38. And then I'm going to subtract the smallest from the largest, and that's your answer. So z equal 0 is, So z equals 0 is 0.5000. And when z equals 2.38, it is, I don't know why I started writing is. I don't know. I have really did on my paper. So. 2.38, so find 2.3 on the positive side, and then you're going to scooch to 8.9913. And then what you do is you take the largest one, which has, did you start doing the 5?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Obviously, it's obviously going to be the one that has like the highest tenths place, y'all. Okay, and then we subtract from that 0.5000. Use your calculator. We have 0.9913. Subtract 0.5000. Obviously, those zeros aren't really necessary, but I'll put it in my calculator anyways. You get 0.4913. So that is the area between our z equaling 0 and our z being 2.38. Can you find them? Both of them are on the positive side. And then we're going to do one more. I'm like writing and making sure you found them. Okay, so what about between z equals negative 1.24 and z equals 1.24? Yeah. And what else was it? 4.2 wasn't bad either. Kind of like a lot of writing and stuff. And that formula looked kind of gnarly, but like the math itself, and we just kept doing the same thing over and over and over again. 4.2. The NCX times P to the X times Q to the N minus X. It's not hard. Was it hard? Probably one of the easiest things we've done.
Not hard.
Annoyed.
Whenever you're not here.
Well, I mean, thank you. I appreciate that. But yes, no, that is true. That is definitely true.
Especially not do it like you don't do it on the same day.
No, if you don't do the homework the same day that you were with me, like it's not gonna make any sense. You'll forget things.
You know what I mean?
But not all of it. It's not as easy. I try to break it down, y'all, layman's terms, like as simple as possible. Like this is how you solve it. Like. Which is why you gotta do your homework more than once if you need to. Come to my office hours if you need to. Be here for review day and ask questions. Okay, y'all, so what do we do? We're gonna figure out z at negative 1.24. I'll go ahead, I'm just gonna write is again, because it don't matter. and then z equal 1.24. I'm gonna grab my handy dandy notebook. Blues Clues. Negative 1.24. I'm gonna kind of cover this up, y'all. So I'll go to the negative page. I go to negative 1.2 is as close as I can get on the left-hand side. I need to find the 4 on the right-hand side. So this is 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
How do you know if it's, you got 1075?
0.1075.
How you know it's
Make sure you do the point though, yeah. If you don't, like, you'll be having whole numbers and it'll keep telling you you're wrong. Avery?
How do you know it's going to make it so that?
Right here, babe. Z equal negative. And then if you look on where it says Z, there's like all these little negative signs. Okay, so I got 0.1075. And then now I'm looking for Z equal 1.24, flip the page. Okay, I gotta go to the 1.2, and then I'm gonna scoot over to the 4. So here's my 1.2, and then I go, this one's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 0.8925. And then what I do is I take the higher one, and I subtract the smaller one. You pick up your calculator, and you get 0.7850. So the words, y'all, I'm telling you right now, if you're not here and you're not like writing down anything and then you look at your homework, none of this is going to make any sense, like at all. Okay, but hopefully like with me doing, I swear I think I did like every single type of example there is, it should be a lot easier. We got one last page to finish 5.1, and it's actually finding the probability. So the only thing that I noticed here, one example, they don't give you probability of and then like these z-scores. They actually just kind of give you a bell curve type of thing, and they give you numbers. And then I noticed that they give you some where they might say the word or, and so because they say or, we're going to have to add them together. But they didn't seem too hard, and I did an example of all the different ones that I saw. So everything should be okay. It'll either just show you that capital P and then have something in parentheses, which we should know that now in stats class, that's the probability of something happening, or it'll actually say find the probability of, and it'll tell you z-scores, okay? But literally, if you see the word probability or that capital P with your parentheses, this is the work that you do. And it's going to obviously be at the end because it's at the end of my lesson. Okay, so it's the problems that are going to be what finishes this assignment, finding the probability. And then I just did examples. Okay. So the first example, go ahead and just draw yourself a little curve, because this is all they give you. They tell you to find the probability, but this is what they give you. Yeah. So you see a curve, and it's shaded between 0 and 2.57. And so what you do when it says find the probability and you see a curve and it's shaded between two things, you're going to figure out what's the z-score at 0, what's the z-score at 2.57, and then you subtract the smaller from the larger. Okay? Because these are basically already the probabilities of how much data exists in the area and the z-score. Like, it's all pretty much the same thing. Okay, so finding the probability and you see the picture, you're just going to do subtraction. But it actually will say something different in the directions it talks about probability. I'm going to show you it's the same work, but someone's going to look at the homework and be like, I don't know what to do, I'm going to find the probability. It's the same thing, the wording might just be different. And then the other two problems are slightly different, so that is why we're doing this. We figure out area of z equals 0. Y'all, we just did that one, right? Yeah. It won't change. It's always 0.5. or 0.5000 if you add the zeros just to be more accurate, or it really doesn't matter. And then we would need to figure out what the area, I already started writing the word area is. So area is 0.9949 for 2.57 is 0.9949. Which one's larger? 0.9949. My little arrow. This is me finding the probability right here of this picture that they gave me. Subtract the 0.5000. You should get 0.4949. And that's just your answer. The only thing is I don't remember if it allowed me to keep it to that many decimal places or if it told me to round. It's the only thing I don't remember. Y'all know I'm really, really bad at remembering. Yeah, remembering where it tells me to round though. Sometimes it could tell you to round 3 decimal places. It could just, ask for the answer. Okay. This one is easier. I love that. Y'all know I love formulas, and I love that last formula. And it wasn't hard, but it got like tedious. You know what I mean? Okay, so this one straight up shows you the way that we're used to seeing probability. So P of, probability of, right? Of, I'm opening up that parenthesis. 2 more. This one and 1 more. Okay, so say we're going to find the probability of negative 1.19, and then do a less than symbol, put your Z, do a less than symbol, 1.19. Okay, so this is actually finding the probability of our Z-score that's between a negative 1.19 and 1.19. It's actually Z greater than the negative, and then Z less than that positive. Because you read it from like the variable over. But I know, if you wanted to sketch it, you could. I think for the probability ones, we've kind of sketched enough. We should trust everything. That all we need to do is just find the area for Z equals negative 1.19 and find the area for Z is 1.19, and then we subtract them. Because that was what the directions were whenever we were between. Okay. The next one I put an asterisk on because this one could be the one that's like confusing. So for this one right here, area Z equals negative 1.19. Someone want to find that for me? I heard 0.1170 with Anita's little whisper. Okay, and then area for Z equals 1.19. What is it when we have a Z score of a positive 1.19? We would find 1.1 and then we'd go over to our 9 hundredths and we get what?
0.820.
And then like the arrow is like, here's me doing my work. Here's the work of the probability and my Z's in between here. I get 0.8830, subtract from that 0.1170, which equals 0.7660. And that's the way you answer it. Remember, just like last time though, with the 4.2 in that formula, everyone's like, oh, this isn't hard. I was imagine not being here though, and then looking at that homework, like, they're not having any clue what to do. No clue in the world. Or this. Yeah, well, that for one. Or you could use the Z, you could, but it could get very messy. Okay, so this is the one I put the asterisk on. And I think this one is, there's either 1 or 2 of these, and it is like the very last problem. Probability of, okay, Z is less than negative 2.49 or. You see how that's the difference there, the word or? Z greater than 2.49 close. Okay, the only thing that I could come up with is because it says the word or, the work that we do is slightly different, and we need to know that this right here, Z greater than 2.49, is coming from the right. This is to the right of. You're killing me, Smalls. To the right. No, I have misophonia. Got a really bad thing with sounds, like mouth noises. She's eating chips. So every time she puts a chip in her mouth, I start talking. Okay, so what we need to do is we're going to find the Z equal negative 2.49. And then that we keep that one, right? That one's from the left. We're understanding right now that when we see the word or, this first one, when it's a less than, it's to the left. We just looked at the table, right? This second one, when it's a greater than, we're believing and we're understanding that it's to the right. That one, you looked at the table, but then you subtracted it from 100, from 1, not 100, sorry. And then the last step is to actually do what or means, which is to add them both together, because it's either this or it's this, okay? And there's 1 or 2 on here, and you're going to have all the steps to do it with this example. Or is add, but that right one, when it says a greater than, you're coming from the right. And the steps from the right was use the table and then subtract that value from 1. So it's kind of like a multi-step in a way. Okay, so let's first figure out the area. Z equal negative 2.49. What's that? Uh-huh. 0.0064. Gesundheit. I tell my kids all the time, let it out. And then area for the Z at 2.49 is what? Yeah, make sure you're on the right side or it'll completely. All your numbers will be wrong. Yep, 0.9936, but because I'm believing and understanding that this greater than 2.49 is coming from the right, to the right, you find on the table, and then you subtract that value from 1. Y'all just save time. If you subtract 0.9936 from 1, what you get is 0.0064. Now, do what that OR operation means, which is to add both of them. So first one on the left, just find it. Second one, find it and subtract from 1. Very last step, or means that we're going to add both of these together. And this is what I'm adding together, y'all. This first step right here had to be done in order to figure out what the real area was. Because it's coming from the right, it had to be subtracted from 1. And that was way back here, y'all. So to the left, it was just find it, right? If it's from the right, you find it and then you subtract it from 1. So that's what we're doing. It's kind of like a little twofer. And then the very last step.
Wait, why do we subtract 1 minus?
Because we're understanding and just believing me when I say that this value right here is coming from the right. And so you subtract it from 1 because that was what we learned whenever we're finding the area under the standard normal curve. Like a few pages back, like page 5 or something.
How do we know if it's coming from the right or not?
Because the probability of, so it's at the end of the homework for 1. The probability has the word or, and it's the second one. And if I give it to you on the test, it's going to be set up the same way. I wouldn't put the one coming from the right on the left. It's actually going to be the one on the right. They're going to be set up the exact same way. 1 minus whatever it was that we found. And y'all, I don't know why, but it just ends up being the exact same number. I don't want that to be confusing because it don't have to be. And so now we're going to add this one and this one because that's what the or means. The or is finding the probability of this happening or this happening.
So we add all 3?
Nope. You're just going to do the ones that I've squared, the ones that I've boxed in.
Okay, that was on the first step.
Yeah. So this was that finished the z-score of negative 2.49, and then both of those steps is what it took to do this one because it came from the right, and so like that was the final answer. And then whenever you add them up, you get 0.0128.
Yeah.
Okay. Add both areas, and it's because it literally says the word or. That's what it means. So I'm trying to think because I didn't draw it. This was negative, so this is a z-score less than, so I'm over here, and then this positive, but I'm understanding, I'm just taking it as a fact that with this problem with the word or right here, we're coming from the right. And if it wants the probability of this or this, you add them together. Okay, so this is just here. And then this one right here is just on this side. And so then we end up adding both of these together. Honestly, I think the problem wouldn't be as confusing if the one coming from the right maybe was a different number. and he didn't get the same numbers right here. But just, I think there might be one or two of these on the homework, and just follow those exact same steps.